Okay, so how much Japanese do you need to know to be a web developer, engineer, or coder in Japan? And the answer is 0. So, let me get some coffee and sit down around here and explain more. I think I saw some number like only 5% of Japanese can actually speak English as a conversation and to have a conversation, and then even less would be able to work professionally. So instead of being great at Japanese, if you're good enough at English, you can just work at a company that speaks English in Tokyo. Well, and then from my experience, I've worked together and worked in companies as small as 10 people to as large as 500 people. And in each case, I was able to speak English with somebody. And then I had some colleagues who didn't speak Japanese at all. And they were, for example, data scientists from India, and they had very little amount of Japanese. And in that case, in these cases, in these types of companies, usually the CEO would speak English natively or fluently, or maybe a manager would be pretty good at English. But even then, they were working together with managers who couldn't speak English at all, and somehow you can communicate. There's tech talk is not so heavy on grammar and emotions and feelings. It's more like, hey, can you get this data and do this? And then the engineer can say, yes, I can, no, I can't. So you don't actually need so much communication. I mean, you need communication for IT, but for a lot of dev work, it's just read the documentation, look at the data, and do something to it. So in that regard, like all the engineers I've met, probably 50% of them spoke Japanese good enough where they could work in a Japanese-only company. And even if your manager or CEO doesn't speak English, there's another company I know, and I think 60% of the company is foreigners, and they speak amongst each other in English or whatever language they can, but probably English. So just because the company doesn't speak English from the top, there might be many people, maybe there will be many engineers who speak English good enough. So when they hire you, you'll just work with those engineers or developers. So to break that down, basically, if you have a CEO speaks English, or maybe a manager speaks English, or a developer speaks English, you basically can work in any of these companies. If you have no Japanese, which most of you probably talking to most of you who don't. So you have no excuse to not come if you have an engineering degree or any type of degree with skills in IT, and you have no Japanese, you can still find a job here. I think, based on my experience, I wouldn't say easy, but I would say easy because I've seen companies that don't care about this stuff. And then even now with some of my clients I work with, I'm not always speaking to them in Japanese. In fact, I'm just mostly using Slack. And so when I'm using Slack a lot, they even said, like, you can use English or Japanese because they just use the DeepL, translation application, and it's pretty good actually. Like you're not going to use crazy sentence structures. You're just using basic language, basic sentences where DeepL can translate most of it. So even just making emails, they just translate it. And if I have a problem, I just say, can you say it in Japanese, because it's a bit strange when you translate it. So yeah, mostly emails and Slacks, you can just use some translation application of some sort. And then when it comes to the actual development, well, you don't know Japanese well, so you just have if you're making a web app or a smartphone app, just make a JSON file with languages, as a lot of web developers already do. And then you can get a Japanese guy just to translate each word for you. Okay, now let's say you want to come here, you're overseas and you want to come here and you want to be in the best position you can be. Besides, of course, just jumping into Twitter or Facebook or the top companies, which chances are you won't. I'll just be honest, like most of us won't be able to get into Google. It's not just that even if you are good enough, I don't know anybody from there. I don't know about that world, to be honest. I'm more of a small business to medium-sized business guy. So my recommendation for language is before you come, maybe you're overseas studying, or maybe you already have the skills and you just want to come here without feeling like an idiot. But you will feel like an idiot. I still feel like an idiot after 10 years. You want to try to get the Japanese proficiency test. Try to get N3, the level 3, before you come. That's my honest recommendation. And you can take, if you study in your spare time, I think about 1 year to get the N3 level. Once you get N3, once you come here, you won't understand most anyway. I have a degree in Japanese from New Zealand, and even after that degree, I still had a lot of trouble to communicate. And there's so many layers to the language that you will not understand. Even now, I get confused when people talk to me like I'm their bro, because they use all this. I'm just not native. I'm not even fluent enough. But I can hold my own in business. So get N3, and then once you're here, you can work in a company for about 2 years, let's say. And in that 2 years, you try to get the N2, because once you get N2, you can do what you want. Like you can probably join Mitsubishi or Toyota, like any of these massive companies where you get good salary, and once you're there, once you get out, you spend a few years in any of these large companies, everybody wants you. You're like the hottest chick on the street. So yeah, N3, then come here, do 2 years in a company, and then try and get N2, and of course level up your skills in IT. Then you can do what you want. People will throw themselves at you, and that's one thing I've noticed myself. I don't have N anything, but if I took the Japanese test, I think I could pass N2 comfortably. I got to study a bit, of course, but even now, I'm declining so much work because I don't want to do it. Actually, I'm getting tired of this of coding and stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting place to be in Japan. If you can speak Japanese, you definitely are the top. You become the top guy. You can become the top guy very easily. What does a top guy mean? I don't know, but it means you'll decline a lot of people, because most people cannot speak Japanese in general. The population is 130 and declining, I suppose, but let's say 130. No one's studying Japanese around the world. So if you are a native English speaker or fluent English speaker, and you have I know some guys are from Brazil that's watching my channel, some guys from India. You have 3 languages with you, and you know tech. Everyone wants you to join the company because they want to take their application international. They want to take it to India. They want to take it to Australia or America. So it's not just about the technical part, but opening your doors for you to be greater than whatever you are now. And you might be making a lot in your current position, but yeah, that's a bit of I went off on a tangent there of I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think maybe even before the whole language part, just understanding the difference of culture probably goes a long way. The whole bowing, exchanging business cards, all these small things add up, and if you just show that to any possible client or any company, I think that just shows, okay, this guy actually studied about this country. He's not just here to make money off us or to get the waifu, or he's not here just because he loves hentai or something. He actually knows a bit about the culture. I think that is really important to keep in mind. But yeah, if you have any questions about languages, it's just a spoken language and getting a job in Japan, just write it in the comment section. My LinkedIn is also in my in the bio, I don't know, the lower section, so feel free to connect and just ask me anything you want. And to wrap this up, I have a sponsor. It's called me. I'm my own sponsor, and I'm thinking of starting my own. I don't like the word startup because I think it's been hammered. It's a terrible word now. But let's just say I'm trying to make my own service where I want to help you connect with Japanese companies. And no, I'm not a recruiter. I don't want $20,000 from the company if I hire you. That's not what I want to do. I just want to help smaller, medium-sized companies in Japan become more international, and just to get that experience, because I think it's something which I've noticed with a lot of these small companies. They want to connect with you, foreign developers. They want to have that experience, good or bad, or depending, or whatever comes from it. They want that experience. So basically, it will be some type of matching. So basically, it will be a type of matching service, and I'll put it in the link below. There's a Google Forms a Google Forms registration, and I already have a few companies that are really interested. I just need to get some people on it first. It's the whole chicken and egg thing. You got to get developers, but you also need to get companies. So just sign up, and you'll be notified. I'm thinking around October, I would try to get around 50 companies that hire foreigners, and they'll be small to medium-sized companies, and they will either speak English themselves or have English-speaking staff. So that is my sponsor, me, and I'll be focusing the next 6 months on trying to grow the first point of it. It will be extremely minimal because I don't want to waste any more money, and look out for that. Yeah, the sign in and sign up will be very simple. I just want you to, it'll basically be, you just sign up less than a minute, 2 minutes max, and then it'll be automated on the server side. I will automate your connections to Japanese companies, and if the company likes what you do or something about you, you can connect with them. And if you are a student, it doesn't matter because you can prepare a company before you come. You can get everything prepared. They'll pay your flight or something. You can do something like that. If you're a web developer overseas, you can just connect with them first and even be a freelance with the company. So there are different ways to connect and work together with Japanese companies. You don't have to be in Japan, but if you want to come, there's ways to come, and it's a lot easier if you have something prepared and you know them and you've talked to them and you've created a good connection. So that's what I really want to build. I don't want to make 100K, 200K a year. I don't really care anymore. It's getting a bit, I don't care about this stuff anymore. I'm trying to find a way that something I'm interested in and I can help people. It sounds really cliche and very boring, or maybe fantasy land, but that's what I'm trying to make. And if you sign up, if you subscribe, like, comment, it helps this. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you later soon.